Hello and welcome. I hope that you're all doing well. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at navigation bars and dropdowns. So with navigation bars, we're able to add in a bar at the top of the page typically that will allow users to navigate to different locations on our website. And using dropdowns, we can have some of the navigations actually have like multiple choices associated with them. So let's take a look at how we can add that into our web page. I'll go ahead and jump over to the code here. And what I'm going to do is at the top of the code, just at the start of the body, we're going to go ahead and create a new unordered list. And this unordered list is going to have the class nav_pills. Now, there are various different types of navigations that exist inside of Bootstrap, and they are all unordered lists typically. And generally, what we have is we have the nav classes associated with them, and then nav_pills is a specific way of creating the nav objects. So when we use pills, they're essentially like these rounded off buttons that sort of look like pills in their shapes. Now, inside of this unordered list, we're going to have various different list items, and each of these list items is going to represent a navigation item in our list. So for example, I can have an li here, and it's going to have the class nav_item. Now, this nav_item can have a variety of different things inside of it. The most common thing would be a link, and it'd be a link to a different page, right? So I could say like I'm going to say class equals nav-link. So this will allow us to format that link as an actual part of the navigation bar. Now I can put in home here as an example, and that will add in a navigation item that is named home. Now, in addition to this, we can add in a few other different nav items, right? So I could just sort of like copy this as well and paste it and make maybe like a second page, right? So I could say like page 1, for instance. So let's take a look at what that looks like so far. So when I refresh the page, you can see that we now have two little items on top of here. We have our home as well as our page 1. So these different items can be clicked on in order to navigate around to whatever those links end up linking to, right? So if we had multiple pages on our website, we can navigate over to other pages, allowing you to be able to move around the website using these navigation bars, right? Just to sort of demonstrate that idea, let's just go ahead and create a simple new page. So I'm gonna go ahead and right click here and create a new file. I'm gonna call it page1.html. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create just like a basic HTML page. So just do a doc of HTML. We'll put some HTML in. We'll put in a head. And we'll put in a body. So inside of the body, I'll just put a paragraph that said, this is page 1, for instance. Now, if I want to link to this page using my navigation bar, what I can do is I can go ahead and create an href to it. So after my class, I could put an href for this page 1. So it's just href as page1.html, kind of like how we would include like a style sheet, right? So it's the same sort of idea. So let me show you what that looks like. So if we refresh this, page 1 can be clicked on, and as you can see, it takes us to this is page 1, right? So you can see that it actually does navigate us around. So that's just done using those href tags. Now, something to note about this is that if you have multiple pages, of course, they should all have the navigation bars available on them. So typically we would copy this to every single page. And that would be the general way that we would have this navigation bar in every single location, right? So this gives you an idea of how we can create a very basic navigation bar. Now, the other thing that I wanted to talk about was dropdowns inside of the navigation bars. And we could do that using a special link item, or list item rather. And the class for this is going to be nav_item, and it will be called dropdown. And inside of this, we're going to have the main sort of base portion, which is our a link. So we have our a class equals nav_item dropdown toggle. So this allows it to be a drop-down menu item that has like a toggle to let it drop down or not. And then typically we include another portion here, so data-bs-toggle. So it's the type of toggle that we want, and typically we would just use drop-down for this. And then again, we can put in an href if we want to give it an href, or we can just leave it as is. I'm just going to leave it as is for now, and I'm going to call this drop-down. Now, inside of this dropdown, what we can do is we can create an unordered list, which has all of the different items that we want inside of the dropdown menu. So let me show you an example. We can have an unordered list, and we're going to give it the same class as our other one. Well, actually, a similar class. This one will be dropdown menu, like this. And then we're going to have our list items. So we have li, and I'll just put in like a sample a tag. Each of these is going to have a dropdown item as its class. And I'm just going to call these each different links. So I'll say like link 1, for instance. So with this structure, let's go over and take a look at what this looks like. You can see when I do this, it gives me this dropdown. And when I click on this, you can see link 1 is available in the dropdown. So this should give you a bit of an idea of how we can create these drop-down lists, right? So this gives us a bit more structure towards the navigation bars that we have available to us. So this should give you a bit more familiarity behind the various different things that we're able to do for navigation bars and navigations in general. And this generally shows you a lot of the sort of core concepts of Bootstrap, the main things that Bootstrap is typically used for. Now, there's a ton of things that you can do with Bootstrap. Bootstrap is a very extensive framework, so I would recommend taking a look into it a little bit deeper just to see what different things exist in Bootstrap. But this gives you enough to just sort of get up and running and understanding the general process of how Bootstrap works and how we apply different styles using these classes. So that's going to be the end of this section. And in the next section, we're going to be taking a look at coding with JavaScript, which is going to start us on the backend functionality of our web pages. So thank you for watching this video. The next video, we're going to start to take a look at JavaScript programming to write backend functionality for our web pages.